Well, in our vegetable garden, it's time to be planting our fall salad crops. And basically, we'll do this much like we would in the spring. We're going to be planting some mesclun again, like we did, which is a mix of several different leafy greens that can be used for salads. And we'll just go in and plant these in a row, about 1/4 of an inch deep, seed these, and then come back along and cover them up. Now, the thing about these salad crops is you'll not want to plant more than you can eat in like 1 or 2 days. So what I'm going to do here, if I were planting for one person, is plant about a 3-foot row of this, and then come back in about 3 days and do another planting, and just do this successively. Now, in the spring, you do this about a week apart, but in the fall, these tend to spread out more, and so what you can do is plant them a little closer together, and by the time they're ready to harvest, they'll be about right to have them about once a week. Now, you want to harvest these when they're about 4 inches tall, so that's why you don't want to have a whole lot of them, because they'll get too large and you won't be able to use them. Now, some of the other greens that you can plant right now would be things like spinach, mustard, and also the leaf lettuces. Now, you'll do these like you would the mescluns, plant them successively so you've got several different harvests at different stages. And one thing that you will want to remember with the leaf lettuce is that if temperatures are above 80, sometimes they have trouble germinating. So you might try germinating those in a flat, in a cooler space, and then transplanting those into the garden. However, once the temperatures drop below 80, you can just direct seed them into the garden and they'll do just fine. There are some other vegetables that you could be planting right now, and those include the Swiss chard, the radishes, turnips, and you can also think about starting to plant garlic, and that's what we're going to do in our raised beds right now. Well, we're planting our garlic in the raised beds because one of the most important things about garlic is good drainage. Now, the other very important thing is to plant your garlic in a very sunny area, and we've got both of those here in our raised beds. We have good drainage and a sunny area. Another thing that garlic likes is to have some well composted organic matter worked into the soil so that it's nice and loose, but it's not just sandy. So we've got a good soil here for our garlic. Now, when you're planting garlic, you can either go to the grocery store and buy a bulb of garlic, or you can order garlic from suppliers, and they have several different kinds. Now, one of the things about garlic, if you buy it at the grocery store, you may run the risk of having garlic that hasn't been stored properly to be planted, because if it's been stored at temperatures over 50 degrees for any length of time, it probably won't sprout for you. So you may want to go with a garlic that you've either bought at your local garden center or that you've ordered specifically from a catalog. Now, with our bulb of garlic here, you'll notice that on the bottom here we've got the basal plate, and you can see the remains of some of the roots. And then you see the individual cloves here, and that's actually what you end up planting. You don't put this whole thing in, but what you do is you separate this out into the individual cloves like this. Now, it's pretty important to get a piece of that basal plate on there, because that is actually the root and the stem of the garlic, and then these are actually leaves that have been compressed together. And so you want to make sure you've got some of that basal plate on there so that it will be sure and go ahead and root. Now, when you go ahead and plant, you want to dig a trench here, and we're going to plant these twice their depth. So these are about 1 inch long, and so I'm going to plant them 2 inches deep. And I'm going to come in here and plant them so that this flat basal plate is down, because that is where the roots are going to be. So we put them in and space them out about 4 inches in the row, 4 to 5 inches depending. And you'll notice that I've chosen the larger cloves here to plant. The larger the clove that you plant, the nicer your actual garlic plant is going to be. If you choose some of these smaller cloves that you find in the middle, you may get a smaller plant that doesn't bulb well for you. So if you've got a choice here, go ahead and use the larger cloves to plant, and you could use those smaller ones to say cook with or something like that if you don't need them, or you can plant them and let them grow for 2 years. So we'll go ahead and put the last one in, then we go ahead and cover those up. And our next row, we'd move over about a foot and plant again. Well, now you can water this in, and you'll want to watch that. If it gets really dry, go ahead and water this, but you don't want to drown your garlic because you run the risk of rotting the clove down there. Now, with planting at this time, that'll give it time to go ahead and get some leaves on it before the really hard frost set in and shut the garlic down. So it'll have a nice stand of leaves in here, and then it'll kind of quit growing over the winter, and then in the spring when things warm up again, it'll start growing again, and when the tops start to die down, that's when you want to harvest your garlic. Well, we've actually been harvesting a lot of vegetables from our Vegetables Around the World garden, and Barbara is going to show us how to make a pizza out of those.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.